"Don't worry, we'll use your college money," my mom said, planning my brother's dream wedding. Little did she know, the broke student she was pitying could have bought the venue outright. Have you ever had your family make a life-changing decision for you without asking? Share your story in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to see what happens next. My name is Alara Vaughn and I am 31 years old. I thought I knew everything about how my family worked. But one night, at our dinner table in Portland, my parents surprised me in a way I never expected. "Your brother's wedding has to be perfect," Mom said, sounding very serious, like she was making a very important decision. "We're using your college money." My stomach dropped. That $75,000 I had been saving for college, money I hadn't touched in years, was now theirs to spend. I forced a small smile, but my heart was racing fast. "I want him to be happy too," I said out loud. But inside, I was furious. My parents didn't know that I had already graduated from college without owing a single penny, and that I had earned all my own money. They thought I would just go along with whatever they wanted. Then my phone rang. It was a voicemail from the wedding venue, a fancy hotel in downtown Portland. "Your deposit check bounced," the manager said. "Pay by tomorrow or your booking is gone." I looked across the table at my parents. They were laughing and joking, not realizing that they had already spent my money. They had no idea that I had my own secret savings. If you've ever had your family make big decisions for you without asking, you know exactly how I felt that night. I had learned something very important. I needed to protect what I had worked so hard to build. Growing up in a Portland suburb, I noticed early on that my family always paid attention to my brother, Rowan Vaughn, more than me. In our small 2-story house, I was the quiet kid, always hunched over our old computer, teaching myself how to code when I was just 13 years old. My parents, Marissa and Victor Vaughn, mostly noticed Rowan's charm and his big plans for the future. "Alara, don't waste so much time on that computer," Mom would say, her voice sharp. She wanted me to join in the family conversations and social activities. But I kept coding because I loved it. School became my safe place, a place where I could be myself. I loved math and computer science. I worked hard and got straight A's, but at home, no one seemed to notice. When I was 15, I created my very first app. It was a quiz tool to help students study for tests. I put it online on a free website, not expecting anything. Then, slowly, money started coming in $50, then $100. By the end of the year, I had earned $5,000. I was so excited that I showed Mom. She glanced at the paper and said, "That's nice, Alara, but help your brother with his homework." Rowan was 3 years older than me, and he was just going through community college applications. I decided to keep my money in a secret savings account. That first app wasn't just about coding. It was my first taste of independence and freedom. I realized that I could make my own path in life. By the time I was 17, I wanted to do even more. I spent many late nights in the high school computer lab, working on a new project. I was building a platform that would connect students with online tutors. I sketched designs, tested codes, and stayed up very late just to make it work. One day, a local tutoring company in Portland noticed my project and emailed me. They wanted to try it out and offered to pay $50,000 for a license. I signed the deal and put the money in my secret account. My parents thought I was just a quiet, studious kid, completely unaware of the contracts and money I was earning. I let them think that because I knew if they found out, they would use my money to help Rowan with whatever he wanted. When it was time for college, I had good grades and a strong coding portfolio. I got a partial scholarship to the University of Washington, which covered half of my tuition. I paid the rest using my own app money. I didn't need their so-called college fund at all. Mom called once, asking how college was going. "It's fine," I said, carefully avoiding details. She didn't ask more, assuming I was struggling to make ends meet. In my freshman dorm room, I saw an opportunity to make my tutoring platform, Learn Easy, even bigger. I added features like live chat and progress tracking. At a tech meetup in Seattle, I presented my platform to a room full of strangers. My voice was steady, even though I was nervous inside. One local investor came to talk to me privately. She said, "This could be big," and offered to buy a 10% stake in Learn Easy. I accepted and used the money to hire a part-time coder and rent a small office near campus. I kept my success a secret. I had seen how my parents gave Rowan money for gadgets, car payments, and other expenses, while I worked alone. One time, Rowan showed up at my dorm leaning on his new car, asking for gas money. "I'm broke," he said. I didn't tell him the truth. I let him think Mom would help him, and he drove off. I didn't care about what they thought. I cared about protecting what I had built. My professors noticed my drive. Dr. Amira, my computer science mentor, recommended me for a startup incubator program on campus. "You're ahead of the curve," he said. I joined the program, gaining mentors and attending tech events that helped me grow Learn Easy. By the end of my second semester, Learn Easy had 12,000 users, mostly high school students. I hired a classmate to help with customer support, so I could spend my time coding and improving the platform. I kept my double life secret, so I could control it myself. At a family barbecue, I overheard Mom praising Rowan's latest job while I flipped burgers. I almost mentioned Learn Easy, but I didn't. I wanted to stay quiet. My resolve grew stronger every day. My parents didn't need to know about my success. My scholarship story worked well. It allowed me to study and work in peace. By the time I was 19, Learn Easy was a steady business. I opened a separate business account, hired a bookkeeper to manage taxes, and kept all my money safe. Every new user, every contract, was a step toward a future that my family couldn't touch. I wasn't just building a company, I was building freedom. By my junior year, Learn Easy had grown beyond a dorm room project. I was 20 years old, juggling classes and managing thousands of students who used my platform every day. I hired 2 more coders and a designer. A bigger education technology company noticed me and invited me to their office downtown. "Your platform is very impressive," their CEO said. "We want to buy a stake in it." After weeks of talks, I sold 15% of Learn Easy for $300,000. My savings grew into the millions. I moved the money into a secure investment account far away from anyone else. After college, I wanted to reach even higher. My professors always encouraged me to go to graduate school, and I dreamed of getting an MBA at Stanford. I applied, using my startup experience and excellent grades. When the acceptance email arrived, I sat in my small apartment, staring at it, unable to believe it. Tuition was expensive, but I paid it all myself. No loans, no family fund. Mom called me the day I moved to California. "Stanford is expensive, Alara. Are you sure about this?" she asked. I told her about scholarships, but she didn't know that my net worth was now $6 million. I wasn't going to tell her. At a tech conference in San Francisco, I met Orion Blake. He was 22, sharp, and had his own education startup. We bonded over coffee, talking about user interfaces and market trends. "You're doing amazing with Learn Easy," he said. I shared my secret success with him, telling him about my sales and investments. Orion didn't flinch. "You built that from nothing," he said. "Own it." For the first time, I felt seen, not just as a student or a sister, but as a real founder. We started dating, and he became my sounding board, challenging my ideas and celebrating my wins. Back home, my family had no clue about my money. Rowan visited Portland, lying on my old couch like he owned it. "Heard you're at Stanford," he smirked. "Bet Mom and Dad are paying a fortune." I shrugged, letting him think I was struggling. Mom and Dad still believed my college fund was my lifeline. Stanford was intense. MBA case studies, presentations, and late-night strategy sessions kept me busy. I thrived using Learn Easy as my real-world lab. I expanded it with AI-driven study plans and partnered with schools across California. By my second year, Learn Easy had 50,000 users and a small, loyal team. I even hired a CFO from my cohort to manage the growing finances. I kept working quietly, focusing on building my company and protecting my independence. Every step I took was about creating a future that I could control, free from anyone else's influence. Even when my family expected me to struggle, I proved to myself that I could succeed on my own. I had learned something very important over the years. No one can take away your hard work if you protect it and believe in yourself. My apps, my platform, and all the money I had saved were more than just numbers. They were proof that I could make my dreams come true, even if no one at home understood or believed in me. Even when faced with family drama, I stayed calm and focused. I didn't need approval or recognition. I only needed to keep working and building the life I wanted. That secret money and those years of coding had given me a gift more valuable than anything else: freedom and independence. And that is how I, Alara Vaughn, went from being the quiet, overlooked kid at home to a self-made entrepreneur, in control of my life and my money, while my family remained blissfully unaware of just how much I had accomplished. Every deal I made, every new thing I added to my money, I kept it a secret. Orion was the only one who knew everything. He would smile and say, "You're building an empire. sometimes joking, sometimes serious when we talked over takeout. I liked keeping my money private. It wasn't just because I wanted to be private, it was because I needed to be safe. I had seen how Mom and Dad always gave money to Rowan, my brother, without asking anyone. One time, at a family holiday, Mom pulled me aside. "Can you help Rowan with his rent?" she whispered, looking at him laughing with our cousins. I shook my head. I said I needed the money for school, even though I didn't really have school costs. Mom frowned but didn't push it. Rowan never paid for his own things. New clothes, trips, toys, everything was on their money. I didn't want my hard work to pay for his life. By the time I was 25, I had graduated from Stanford and built a successful company called Learn Easy. I had a fortune I made myself. But my parents still called, asking if I needed scholarship money or a part-time job. I smiled on the phone and gave vague answers. They didn't know I never touched their money, and I didn't need it. I was free, but it still felt heavy to carry their wrong ideas about me. I wasn't ready for what happened next. I went back to Portland for a rare family dinner. When I stepped into Mom and Dad's house, the smell of roast chicken filled the air. The dining table was set, candles flickering, but it didn't feel warm. Mom, Marissa Vaughn, was in the kitchen calling Dad, Victor Vaughn, to get more wine. Rowan, my brother, was sitting at the table scrolling on his phone with his fiancée, Sienna Hart, talking about wedding flowers. I forced a smile, but my stomach felt twisted. I had built a $6 million company, but my family still thought I was just a kid scraping by. Tonight, I was about to see how far their wrong ideas really went. We all sat down, our plates full. Mom started talking, her voice bright but serious. "Alara, we need to talk about Rowan's wedding. It's a big family event." I nodded, waiting. She continued, "The place is expensive, but we're using your college money to pay for it. That's okay, right?" I froze. My fork stopped in the air. The room seemed smaller. I looked at them. "My college money?" I asked quietly, hoping I misheard. Dad nodded like it was nothing. "It's just sitting there. Rowan needs it more." I put my fork down, my hands shaking. "How much are we talking about?" I asked calmly. Mom looked at Rowan, then back at me. $15,000 for the deposit. It's a top hotel in Portland." My mind raced. That fund had $75,000. I haven't used it since high school. I paid for Stanford and everything myself. They didn't know that, and they never asked. "You already took money from it," I said, my voice sharper. $25,000 years ago, $10,000 for an SUV for Rowan, and $15,000 for Nolan Pierce's debts. The table went silent. Rowan's phone fell onto his plate. Sienna looked confused, glancing at him. Mom's smile shook, but she quickly recovered. "Alara, that was for family needs," she said. "Rowan needed a car for his job, and Nolan is like a son to us." Dad stayed quiet, cutting his chicken, avoiding my eyes. Rowan leaned forward, looking annoyed. "Come on, sis. You weren't using it. You were at Stanford, right? Scholarships and all." His smirk made me angry. He knew exactly what he had done. I took a breath, steadying myself. "I paid for Stanford myself, Rowan. Every cent. That money was mine, and you took it without asking." Mom jumped in, her voice sharp. "It's family money, Alara. We made a decision for everyone's good." Everyone's good? I almost laughed. They had given money to Rowan for years, cars, trips, and now a wedding, while I built my life alone. Sienna whispered to Rowan, "What is she talking about?" He muttered, "She's overreacting." I looked at Dad, hoping for support. "You agreed to this, didn't you?" I asked. He sighed, looking tired. "We thought it was fair, Alara. Rowan's starting a family." Fair. The words hurt. I had always been invisible, while Rowan got a free pass. "You didn't tell me," I said, calm but cold. "You assumed I'd just give it." The latter wasn't good enough. I pushed my plate away. I checked the account. $25,000 is gone. $10,000 for Rowan's SUV, $15,000 for Nolan's debts. "You all knew." Rowan scoffed, but his face turned pale. "That's old news, sis. Why bring it up now?" I ignored him and looked at everyone. "I'm not paying for your wedding, Rowan. Not with my money." Sienna gasped softly, twisting her hands in her lap. Mom snapped. "Alara, stop this. We are a family." They had betrayed me, plain and simple. I stood up, scraping my chair on the floor. I wasn't letting them decide what was mine anymore. Orion Blake's words came to mind. Call it out. I wasn't the quiet kid anymore. I had built Learn Easy, a multi-million-dollar company, all on my own. They didn't know it yet, but they would soon. A family reunion was coming up. I would tell everyone the truth, with no secrets left. I didn't want apologies. I just wanted them to know. A few weeks later, at a family reunion in Portland, the backyard was full of laughter. Picnic tables were packed with casseroles and pies. I stood by a folding chair, holding a water bottle, nervous but ready. The dinner weeks ago, where Mom and Dad said they would use my college money for Rowan's wedding, had made me angry. I had checked the account and saw that $25,000 had already been taken. $10,000 for Rowan's SUV, $15,000 for Nolan's debts. I was not letting it go. Orion Blake had pushed me to confront them, and now was the time. I stepped into the middle of the yard, my voice loud so everyone could hear. I need everyone's attention. The chatter stopped. All eyes were on me. Mom froze, fork in hand. Dad leaned forward, eyebrows furrowed. Rowan was joking with Nolan near the dessert table, not noticing. Sienna stood nearby, arranging flowers. I took a deep breath. You all think I needed that college money to survive. You're wrong. I built Learn Easy, my own company. It's worth millions. My net worth is $6 million. Aunts gasped. Uncles whispered. A glass tipped, spilling lemonade. I looked at Mom and Dad. That fund was mine. I never used it. I paid for Stanford myself. But you took $25,000 without asking. $10,000 for Rowan's car, $15,000 for Nolan's debts. Mom's face turned red. Elara, not here, she snapped, looking at everyone. Dad looked down at the grass, quiet. Rowan stopped laughing, jaw tight. Nolan shuffled uncomfortably. Rowan spoke sharply. Sis, chill. The car was for work, and Nolan needed help. Family helps each other. I looked at them all. No harm. You took my money and lied about it. Relatives whispered, some nodding, some wide-eyed. Sienna looked at Rowan, but stayed quiet. Mom stood, hands clenched. Elara, you're embarrassing us. We used that money for the family. Rowan's building a life. I shook my head. You didn't ask me, Mom. You decided my money was Rowan's to spend. I'm done with that. Freeze the account. No more withdrawals. My voice was firm and clear. Dad finally spoke softly. We didn't want to upset you, Elara. He looked guilty, but didn't argue with Mom. I turned to the crowd. I took another deep breath and said, I built Learn Easy by myself. Every deal, every dollar. I didn't need anyone's help. I've worked hard for my money, and I'm not going to let anyone take it without asking again. That includes Rowan, Mom, Dad, anyone. Some relatives whispered to each other. Aunts and uncles looked surprised. Rowan's face got red, and Sienna's eyes widened. Mom's hands trembled slightly as she tried to speak, but no words came out. Dad looked down, ashamed. I continued, my voice calm but strong. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm telling you the truth. I've earned this, every cent. And I will protect it. I will not let it be used for anyone else without my permission. From now on, this money is mine alone. The backyard went quiet. Only the sounds of wind and birds remained. Rowan shifted uncomfortably. Sienna looked at him and whispered something. Mom opened her mouth, but I didn't let her talk. I'm not angry for nothing, I said, looking at Mom and Dad. I've seen how money has always gone to Rowan. Cars, trips, gifts, school money. Everything he wanted without asking. I worked for every penny I have. And I'm done letting you think it's okay to take it without asking me. You don't get to decide that anymore. Some cousins whispered, nodding their heads. Even a few aunts looked surprised and thoughtful. Dad sighed again. Mom looked down at her hands. Rowan's jaw was tight, and he didn't say anything. For the first time, I felt them understand how serious I was. I straightened up, feeling strong. I'm not doing this to make you feel bad. I'm doing this to be honest. I've always been honest about my work, my money, my life. And now you know the truth. From now on, my money stays mine, and I will make sure it is never taken without my permission again. That's the only way I can be sure I am respected. The wind moved through the yard, carrying my words across the picnic tables. Some relatives looked amazed. Some looked uncomfortable. Rowan finally muttered, Okay, Elara. We get it. I nodded. Good. Now you all know. I built my life without their help. I didn't need their money, and they didn't get to touch it. One cousin clapped. Then other cousins started clapping too, which surprised me. I hadn't expected anyone to support me. It felt strange, but also good, like someone had finally noticed me. Derek whispered to Nolan, She's making a big deal out of nothing. Nolan just shrugged, looking pale and nervous. Sienna, Rowan's fiancée, tugged Derek's arm and whispered something, but he just pushed her hand away like it didn't matter. Mom's eyes were sharp and serious. You're being selfish, Elara. We've always looked out for you. We've always looked out for me too. But they didn't know what they had done. They had ignored all my applications, awards, and hard work. Every time I tried to show them I could succeed, they acted like it didn't matter. Meanwhile, Rowan got everything he wanted without trying as hard. I didn't argue with Mom because I knew she wouldn't listen. The family reunion grew tense. Everyone looked at each other, unsure of what to do. Nolan quietly moved toward the gate, and Rowan followed him, giving me a mean, angry look. "You didn't have to do this," Rowan hissed. I looked him in the eyes and said, "You didn't have to take what's mine, Rowan." Nothing was solved that day. No one apologized. Mom stayed firm, standing on her side. Dad stayed quiet. Rowan and Nolan tried to ignore the problem, hoping it would go away. But I had spoken my truth, and the family knew it. I wasn't invisible anymore. I had drawn a boundary, a line that no one could cross, and I would hold it. In the weeks after the reunion, the consequences of my choice started to happen. They were quiet but clear. Rowan and Sienna's wedding plans fell apart. The Portland hotel would not wait after the $15,000 deposit bounced, and their big wedding had to be canceled. A cousin told me they had to settle for a very small ceremony at a local church. There were folding chairs, a simple meal where people brought food to share, and only 40 people were invited. Sienna wore a plain dress instead of the fancy gown they had planned. Rowan called the cousin once. He sounded bitter and angry. "You could have helped, sis," he said, blaming me for their small wedding. I didn't answer. I ended the call. His problems were not my responsibility. I had worked hard for my money, my life, and my choices. It was not my job to fix what they had done. Mom and Dad ran into trouble. My college fund was safe now because I had the bank freeze it. That meant they couldn't use it. They had to use their retirement savings to pay for Rowan's wedding and some of his overdue bills. An aunt told me they had to spend a lot of money, but it still wasn't enough. Their mortgage payments started being late. Mom's cheerful voice sounded worried. She told a neighbor, "We're fine," but it was clear she wasn't fine. They had always bought Rowan new gadgets, trips, and a big SUV, but now their safety net had disappeared. Dad didn't say anything during our last phone call, but I could tell he knew that Rowan and Mom and Dad had overstepped. I made a hard choice. I stopped taking their calls. Mom left voicemails. At first, her voice was soft, gentle, and caring. Then it turned sharp and demanding. "Alara, we're still family. Call us," she said. I didn't call. Rowan texted me too. At first, he tried to sound casual, like everything was okay. Then he got pushy. "Don't shut us out, sis," he said. I blocked him. Nolan sent me a short email about clearing the air over the fund. I didn't read it. I just deleted it. Orion Blake, my close friend, was the one person who supported me. "You've carried them long enough," he said over dinner, looking me in the eyes. I nodded. It felt good to hear someone understand. The heavy weight of their expectations slowly lifted from my shoulders. San Francisco became my new start. I got a lead strategist job at a growing education technology company. They were impressed by my work with Learn Easy, my startup. I signed a lease for a bright, sunny apartment in the Mission District. Its windows looked out over the city lights. Moving there felt like a fresh start, leaving behind the Portland house where I had faced their betrayal. My new office was full of ideas and energy. My team was eager to work and create new things. For the first time, I felt truly free. People at work valued me and my contributions. I kept my move a secret from my family. They thought I was still in Portland, maybe angry or upset about the reunion. A cousin called me, surprised. $6 million, Alara? Is that real?" she asked, her voice full of amazement. I confirmed it, but I kept details private. Word spread among my cousins, but Mom and Dad stayed quiet. They pretended I still needed their help. I let them believe it. My life, my company, and my money were mine alone. The distance made me focus more. I worked harder than ever. My team launched a new feature for the education company, which increased engagement by 15%. Learn Easy also grew, hiring 3 new developers to reach new regions and expand our reach. Orion visited often. His startup was nearby. We would walk along the bay, tossing ideas back and forth. With every walk and conversation, my past felt farther away. I wasn't escaping my family. I was building a life beyond them. One night, a letter arrived from Portland. It was from Mom, and her handwriting was neat and careful. It read, "We need you, Alara. Rowan is trying harder now." There was no mention of my college fund, no apology for their choices. I left the letter on my counter and then tossed it in the trash. I didn't need their words to keep moving forward. My life was mine, built with my own hard work and determination. Walking away from my family was the hardest choice I had ever made, but it brought me clarity. In San Francisco, I created a life that was completely mine. My days were filled with strategy meetings at the education company, designing tools that helped thousands of people learn. Learn Easy thrived, now with 25 people on my team, breaking into new markets. My apartment, perched high above the city, was a quiet sanctuary for thinking and reflecting. I wasn't hiding from my past. I was in charge of my future. I thought back on my family's choices. Mom and Dad always put Rowan first, his cars, his debts, his wedding. They took my college fund, assuming I would stay quiet. Rowan leaned on their support without questioning anything, while Nolan also benefited from their favoritism. Sienna, tied to Rowan, faced a simpler life than they had planned. Their choices left them struggling. Retirement funds were drained. Bills piled up. I didn't wish them pain, but I couldn't fix their mistakes. Letting go was hard. I missed family dinners and old traditions. But I had been invisible for too long. My work and my achievements were ignored, while Rowan got praised for doing less. Orion saw me clearly. "You're unstoppable, Alara," he said over coffee. He was right. Every milestone, Learn Easy, Stanford, my fortune, was mine, built without their help. Cutting them off allowed me to focus on what really mattered. The lesson was clear: being independent is powerful. Setting boundaries isn't betrayal. It's protection. I learned to guard my worth and walk away from people who took without giving. My family's favoritism taught me that enabling someone too much only makes them dependent. Rowan and my parents learned responsibility the hard way, when the money stopped flowing. This story isn't just mine. It is for anyone who has ever felt unseen or ignored. Family can lift you up, or they can hold you back. If you are giving everything to people who don't see you, stop and think. Build your own path. Set rules and limits for yourself. My family's bias pushed me to prove them wrong, but my success came from proving myself right. That is the truth I hold. I hope it helps anyone who reads this. I kept building Learn Easy. Every day, new ideas came to life. My team grew. People believed in me. I learned that no one could take away my dreams unless I let them. I could fail, but I could also succeed on my own. Orion stayed by my side, helping me celebrate the wins and face the challenges. My life in San Francisco was bright and full of energy. Sometimes I thought about Portland and the old house, and I felt a pang of sadness. I missed the idea of family together. But I also knew I deserved to be seen and valued. That's what made me strong. Every decision I made to protect myself, to keep my money safe, to say no to them, was a step toward freedom. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. I had friends who supported me, a career I loved, a company I built from scratch. I had everything I needed to be happy and successful. And I knew that all of it came from my own work, my own choices, and my own courage. No letter, text, or call from my family could change that. I had set my boundaries. I had learned my worth. And I would never let anyone take that away.